Welcome back to Capitol Review. Democrats in Northern Virginia named the nominee to replace late Congressman Gerry Connolly for the rest of his term. James Walkinshaw, Connolly's former chief of staff. Walkinshaw will face off against Republican nominee Stewart Whitson. Walkinshaw spent 11 years in Connolly's congressional office. He received the congressman's endorsement after he announced that he would not seek another term after his cancer diagnosis. Walkinshaw also serves on the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. The other candidate who wants to fill Connolly's seat has never run for office, but Stewart Whitson is not a stranger to federal government. He's an Army veteran and a former FBI agent. Both say their experience makes them qualified to finish Congressman Connolly's term.
I know how to run the office. I know how to operate on the floor of the House in a committee hearing and in a committee markup, how to get legislative language inserted into a moving legislative vehicle to make progress for our community. So I'm prepared to do the job.
I've been on the Hill fighting to advance conservative policy. So I've been in the trenches on Capitol Hill actually doing the job that I'm applying for now. And so there is no candidate in the race, Democrat or Republican, who has as much real-world experience as I do.
And voters will decide who fills the remainder of Congressman Connolly's term on September 9th. And returning to Capitol Review is Dr. Stephen Farnsworth. He's a professor of political science at the University of Mary Washington. Dr. Farnsworth, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
We're always glad to have you. What is your reaction to these two candidates?
Well, I think it's important to remember that there's very little that either of the candidates can say or do that really has all that much of an impact in a district that is as overwhelmingly Democratic in its orientation as this one is. This is a district that includes most of Fairfax County, all of Fairfax City. It is a very, very liberal district. Under the best of circumstances, Republicans are lucky to get 1/3 of the vote. And there are, if anything, circumstances this year where President Trump has made a very difficult environment for federal workers. That's not going to go over well in Fairfax.
How is the late Congressman Gerry Connolly's legacy looming over this race, if at all?
Well, I think the important thing to recognize is that this is a district that is very, very connected to federal employment, federal contracting, and the people who make their living by providing services to those federal employees and federal contractors. And one of the things, of course, that Congressman Connolly did during his years in Congress was to be a very, very vigorous advocate for federal employees. That's something that I would expect would be part of the next member of Congress from this district, because this is a district where the most politically active, the most politically engaged people are going to care a great deal about federal employment and the health of those federal workers and contractors.
Dr. Farnsworth, what do you expect these candidates to focus on?
Well, there's an old saying that all politics is local, but I really think in Virginia 11 in 2025, all politics is national. The Democratic message will be very clearly this question of Donald Trump, the president, and his choices, particularly those that impact negatively federal workers and federal contractors. On the Republican side, the messaging is likely to be a pretty pro-Trump message, thinking about issues of wokeness. One of the issues that has worked well for Republicans, if you look at Glenn Youngkin's campaign 4 years ago, is weaponizing disputes over the schools. And so I think that a lot of the traditional conservative messaging, which is not a particularly good fit for this district, by the way, will be the Republican message here.
If you were advising both candidates, what would you encourage them to really zero in on?
Well, I think in many ways the things that I mentioned in the last answer would be the issues. I think the strongest potential argument for Republicans is actually to put a little bit of daylight between yourself as a candidate and President Trump. Particularly looking at these issues as you focus on the concern of federal workers. You cannot, I think, really be 100% pro-Trump and expect to do very well in this district without a very, very pro-federal worker, federal contractor message. And so a little bit of daylight between the president and the candidate on that one would be really important for Republicans. For Democrats, I think the message is that the issue of President Trump and his impact on this district, very, very negative, a very, very important issue to emphasize.
Dr. Farnsworth, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.